Hey everyone, welcome to the speed build. This is quite a big build, so it's quite a long video, even though I did end up cutting a whole bunch out. Right now we're just trying to work out the general shape of the house. For a Queenslander-style house, it's generally raised up on the second level, and there's a veranda that goes most of the way around, but not the whole way around. And a lot of times people enclose the veranda to get additional living space, as well as utilizing sort of the under the house as storage, or if it's high enough, extra living space. So I'm just playing around sort of now with the shape of the house and trying to work out how the stairs are going to go and what it's all going to look like. And then we start playing around with the terrain manipulation, which is probably my favorite part to do. It's just so fun. But I wanted to make it so that the block was sort of raised up on one end and lower on the other end, so that there's a bit of a backyard that you can sort of set stuff up on, and felt very realistic to real life. These houses a lot around Brisbane area, they're all basically built on the side of a hill. So I tried to sort of mimic that as best I could in The Sims 4. And now just sort of setting up that under area is all open and putting a bit of a veranda around the remaining spaces upstairs. I end up having to redo my walls a bit. I'm not sure what I was doing, but it ends up having not actually that much veranda, considering what my original idea was, but it ends up being quite usable, which I think works well. And so now we're just going around and adding some columns so that the house isn't floating in midair. And the stairs, we end up shifting out a little bit, so that there's a bit more of an entranceway. But now we're just trying to do the roof. In real life, Queenslanders have a very steep roof, and they're basically always color bond or like corrugated steel, that kind of thing. So I've tried to do that as well here. Doesn't work as well. In real life, it would. I think I end up wrapping the roof all the way around. So maybe I do end up doing that, but in real life, generally all the veranda would also be covered with a roof as well, because especially in Queensland, the sun is just so hot. You need as much covered living space as you can possibly get. But now we're just trying to work out how on earth we're going to do it all. I think I end up shifting the walls around a little bit just so the roof works a little better, makes a little more sense. But I think it turns out quite nice, and we end up sort of making a bit more of a proper entryway rather than having it quite so open to the rest of the veranda, which I thought worked out well. So now we're just, again, still going with the roof. It's quite a big bit. It's not the best roof. It ends up being kind of just filling in the gaps as best I could. Actually, I think I leave some of the veranda on the back open, which you'll see in a bit later. We add a pool onto the side as well. But for the most part, I think it turned out quite well. And then I end up making it a color, and then I think I changed the color right at the very end. So don't get too attached to what color I'm about to make it. So here we go. As you can see, we can get the sheet metal. So originally I went black, and then I was like, that's crazy. If it was real life, a black roof for your house is just asking to have like the world's hottest house. So ideally you want a white roof, so that it reflects the heat. But I end up going, I think, with the kind of orangey roof. Originally I had the house white and yellow. It ends up being just white in the end. But I was kind of going for those kind of more warmer colors, bit of a color scheme. But like I said, in the end it becomes white with an orange roof. So now we're just mucking around again with a bit more of the terrain tools, raising it up, trying to work out what on earth. I had this like trench there that I couldn't figure out. I think I may just leave it and flatten some of the dirt back out. And now we're just adding a back veranda, a back staircase to the veranda, so you can get down into the backyard without having to walk all the way around. And of course, adding railings onto the stairs because they are quite high. And in real life, you would definitely have them. Otherwise, you would be in grave danger of falling off. And I built this right after the base game update, so I was able to use some of the new windows and doors, which are really cool. I really like them, and really nice to be able to have that sort of base game update when you do only have the base game. It felt kind of like you were building with like the same 5 items over and over and over again. So nice to have an update. And now just adding, just for a little bit of visual interest, really, a bit of a terrace, a lattice section onto this little corner of the veranda. I think I end up sticking some plants over the top of it. And here is where I decided to change it from a black accent color to a white accent color. So, yeah, that's basically, that was kind of the reason I swapped from the black roof. Although, like I said, it takes ages. And then, like I said earlier, Queenslanders were basically all weatherboard. So I went with a siding for basically everywhere. I think I cut out all the bits that I stuck yellow, but you'll see the front door is yellow. I think it may stay yellow, but all the windows, I originally put yellow and white and then just changed them all to white. And now we're just working out the floor plan. I wanted the rooms to not be just like little rectangles. We end up with kind of an odd hallway that we end up sticking a desk in. But I think it turns out okay. It's kind of like a little study nook. Adding a sliding glass door to the back veranda. Again, very, very realistic. I don't think I've ever lived in a house that doesn't have a sliding door to go outside. But just adding in a couple of windows. What I would have really loved is if there was one of those windows that kind of opens out, like you wind them out. Again, I've had those kind of windows in a lot of places I've lived in Queensland, so it would have been nice to be able to have that, but I don't think they have them in the base game. We might not have them in any of the expansion packs either, I'm not 100% sure. But now we're just still going through adding, I just kept with the same sort of single hung windows or the single slide ones. And then, like I said, changed them all from yellow and white to just plain white. It felt a bit more realistic. And then I'm not sure what we end up doing, but I think the floor plan as it is, it does have one major change later on. I end up moving, originally I've got like the little room here with the bathroom. We end up moving that basically to where that little nook in the front is and making that current bathroom a bit bigger and making that the lounge room. But here's the kitchen. I originally was kind of going with the yellow accents, but if I could have gotten that yellow in a square tile, I would have done it. But the hexagonal tiles didn't feel true to the era, so I swapped them out for just plain white, which again, if you've lived in a house, you probably have plain white tiles everywhere, so it felt quite realistic. And I think we ended up going with a slightly more yellower tile for the sort of the walls so that we could still at least keep those accent colors in. And it's just a 2-bedroom, considering the size of it is probably not the best use of space, but we've got 1 bedroom for the parents and 1 bedroom that could fit 2 kids in. If you wanted to, obviously you could swap it all around. I just went through and painted the whole thing a very neutral color. It felt very realistic to the era. A lot of the houses that I'm familiar with are painted. Well, growing up, our house was painted apricot. I didn't go that far. I went with kind of more of a beige. But here I've raised the kitchen up. That felt very realistic. My current place, the bathroom, you have to step up into because all the plumbing and stuff runs under the floor. Because it's a lot easier to do it that way than run it elsewhere. So that's what I've gone with for the kitchen, using again the new cabinets from the base game update in that yellow, which is just such a beautiful, cheerful yellow. I love it so much. Originally had the fridge over there. We move it back to the other side, kind of in front of the window, which is probably not the best spot, but we go with it. And we end up adding a little bit more cabinetry and stuff later on, but it's a absolutely massive kitchen. Originally I was going to have it with a small table in there, but I end up making the space next to it the dining room instead of making that the lounge room. As you can see there, I originally tried to put the table into the kitchen area, and it just didn't work. It just didn't look good. So they've just got a gigantic kitchen, and then instead of having an island, I used the bar that matches the cabinetry, which perhaps not the most realistic, but it kind of looks like a funky island, so I liked it. And it is cool because then there's a bar in the build. Just going through and adding a couple of things like curtains and whatnot. just so that it looks a bit nicer. If you've ever lived anywhere where it's very sunny, you will understand that curtains or blinds are a absolute necessity depending on which way your house faces. We had the afternoon sun coming into our kitchen growing up, and you basically need blackout curtains to stop it being like 50 degrees inside when you're trying to cook. And so that's what I've done there. And then just went through and added a couple of pieces of furniture like these little hutches. I love these little sort of like, they're not usable, they're just decorative, but they're so cute. And they felt, again, very realistic. If you've ever lived anywhere that you've got all your sort of nice dishes, chinaware on display. So, and then just adding a little plant for some decoration. Originally, like I said, I had the bathroom here and the lounge room in that other bit, and then I swapped them around in a little bit, but I show the process of decorating this bathroom just so you can sort of get an idea of how I was going. I end up not having a shower, a separate shower I should say. It's just a shower bathtub combo. Probably the one that I chose, this kind of more clawfoot one with the shower curtain, I would have, in real life, it would be like a more of a built-in one, but this one's pretty and I wanted a little bit more color that wasn't just white or yellow in there, so I went with the pink shower curtain. So that's basically why I've used that one. And then just trying to fit in a couple of little decorative things, make it clutter it up, make it a bit more realistic in the bathroom there. But back now, I decided that I didn't like the two matchy-matchy hutches, so I'm trying to work out if there's one that will also fit with it, and I ended up going with that one, shaped a little bit different, and I felt like that was realistic. As you go, sort of as you collect furniture throughout your life, it all ends up being quite different as your taste change and your what you can afford changes. So now we're decorating that little study nook. I just went with really basic computer chair, nothing else. I think I had some like decorative things, but that's it. And then here we jumped back outside, changing the color scheme to this kind of like orangey roof color, and now I decided that I want to move the bathroom and encroach a teeny tiny bit into the dining room, but it still works out well. And then we just move everything over and increase the size of that other room that we had the bathroom in. Again, I used the new cabinets for the bathroom counters, just in the completely white swatch there, which they're such nice counters. They really did such a good job with the update. I love it. But again, I think we end up swapping that second towel out for a laundry basket. Non-functional unless you have laundry day, but still looks nice. And again, the fluorescent lights, that was my favorite feature. Growing up, that was all we had in the bathroom, and it's a certain look. But you get used to it. I had a lot of trouble with the rug for underneath the dining table. I'm not 100% sure if we end up even keeping one in the end. But I just couldn't find one that fit the color scheme and the size of the table and the space itself without sort of cutting into the bathroom or going under the kitchen little lip there. So I honestly can't remember what I did. But now just adding like a little sideboard with a couple of things on, adding a little bit of clutter, some wine bottles, salt and pepper shaker, paper towels, all the things you need within easy reach if you're setting the table. And then just adding a couple more items of clutter like the aprons. I think maybe add a picture to the wall, but it's really not a cluttered house. And now we're going back into the kitchen. Originally I was going to do upper cabinets, but I don't know, there's something about it. They just look so enclosed. I don't love that. So I went with some open shelving here and just added a couple of things on, and only open shelving in this corner. I didn't bother doing it above the microwave or anything, but easy enough if you wanted to add it on. But just adding a couple of things like the cookie jar or the utensil jar, some knife block, all the kind of things that you would need. And then this one, oh no, we jumped to the lounge room. So I painted this kind of a darker color. At my parents' place, their lounge room is super, super dark, so that when you close it up, you feel like you're in a movie theater. So I was kind of trying to replicate that in this one, but make it sort of possible in The Sims. And with the base game furniture, some of it felt very realistic, like kind of going more that 60s, 70s. And then coming through, the furniture is all very 90s, I think. The stuff that you kind of know from when growing up, sort of as your parents were able to afford it when they were just first starting out, and then they just kept it for a million years because they had kids and they didn't want to upgrade. That's kind of the vibe I was going for, but sort of basic but good quality. And all in that lovely sort of orangey wood that I don't think anybody loves, but is very ubiquitous. So just went very neutral palette throughout most of the house. You get like the brown for the lounge chairs, the brown wood basically everywhere. And then just adding in a couple of things. I think we add a lamp here and then just a tiny bit of clutter to the coffee table, but really not much in the lounge room aside from the TV and the bookshelf, which really that's all you need in The Sims. And then just adding, yeah, a bit of artwork. Again, those kind of landscape pictures are everywhere in real life, so you've probably seen one. I really love this clutter item, and I'm so happy that it's base game, or maybe it was an event reward, I can't remember exactly, but just adding a couple of them to the lounge just to give it a bit of something, make it a bit more interesting. Copying the greens and a bit of a darker brown just to give it a bit of depth. I really liked that. And just shrinking the second pillow on one side so that you could stack both of them without them looking a bit like too overwhelming. And just adding a light above the bookshelf. Just because I felt like it needed something there, but you can't really add too much to the bookshelf from the base game. There's not a lot of things that slot apart from unless I wanted to stack it with a whole bunch of plants. And then just adding a couple of things to the entryway, shoe rack, coat rack, mirror. That would be such a nice thing to have, is a full length mirror next to your front door. And then just that was just for fun. My parents have a house that was built back in the 1930s, and they've got a round wall in one of the sections. So I didn't end up doing a round wall. I just did a diagonal here, but I think it worked out okay. And then I kind of made it like a art spot. You've got the children's art table, and then the parents have a proper easel. I don't know if it's the best thing to see it right as you walk in your front door. Maybe it should go tucked away, but if you're a good artist, maybe that's what you do want people to see straight away as you walk in, is a beautiful canvas you're working on. So I went with it. And also, if you do have in real life, sometimes you just have to put things where they fit, and you end up having sort of strange assortments of things around the place. So I've gone with it there, but it's an easy enough fix. You can just delete those and have like a really long hallway, or you could extend the rooms out and make the walkway a little bit shorter. And then just going through and adding a couple of things like just a bit of decoration on the walls, decoration I think on the study nook, and now decorating the kids' room. So I end up separating the bunk beds. So kind of like if you had two kids, they'd have like their own little section of the place. But most of it is taken up by that dollhouse. It takes up so much floor space. And then I think we add in the little science table as well. And then just a couple of items like a dresser. Took me a little while, but I ended up, I think, using basically everything from the same set, like the dresser for the kids and then the matching night table as well. I think it worked out well. And then the cutest little mirror in the world. I love that little cloud mirror. And just adding a couple of things like the lunch bag and then some toys just to clutter up. And of course I had to use the koala because it's a Queenslander house. And just a couple of things. I painted the room green with a kind of a bit of a feature wall, but a lot of the furniture ends up being quite orange. And the two beds, I just left one green, one pink, but easy enough fix if you have, sim kids that don't like those colors. Growing up, my sister and I shared a room, and we had bunk beds, but we both had a top bunk, which gives you so much space on the floor. And I kind of wish I'd done that here, but I didn't. I just went with one top bunk, one lower bunk, basically as if they'd bought the set and then just separated them. And of course I had used the cloud light to match the cloud mirror. I just think they've got such cute little kid stuff. And then of course a cloud rug to go with the theme. And then onto the parents' room, I had a bit of trouble. I really wanted to fit a dresser in there, but most of them are 2 tile wide. I think I stick that one in there, and technically it does. It doesn't quite fit, but it doesn't cut through like either the walls on either side. But I end up swapping it out, and then I can't remember if I used that. Yeah, that bed, just a very neutral palette again, and the matching side tables as if they'd bought like a bedroom set. And then we set up like a little reading nook in the corner. The family that I kind of built this one. I tried to be a little bit generic, but I did have a family of Sims in mind, and one of them has the music aspiration. So I end up adding a little acoustic guitar into that nook there. Instead of it being kind of a reading nook, it's a bit more of like a, you sit there and you play your guitar. But you could easily, I added the little books on the night side table so that you could easily have your Sims sit there and read if that's what they wanted to do. And then here's where I swap the dresser out, and actually I think I still keep that dresser, but we just move it and then just add sort of, there's enough room for your Sims to walk around there and then we add that really cute blanket sort of clutter item, which I just think is adorable. And then the most important feature, adding fans. If you live in Australia, particularly in Queensland, and you don't have air conditioning, you need fans. So I've added them in a couple of places. I could have, if I had for rent, I would have added the air conditioner, but since this is just base game, I didn't. And then I added, that's actually the upper cabinet, that's like the full size one. And it's a bit tricky. It does float above the floor, and I tried a couple of different options to make it not float, but I just stuck a plant there and tried to hide it in the end. Nobody's looking that closely, I don't think. And then just now we're doing a bit of the outside, so adding some outside lights, and then we add a pool onto the back veranda in a little bit. But what, honestly can't remember what I do next. I think we just add a couple of things, like we had a bench out here and the telescope. I think we had some, pots for some planting so you can get your gardening skill up. Maybe I add some, some more table and chairs around the place. But now we're adding the pool. And again, very realistic, although not with that fence. We swapped that fence out, don't worry. A lot of places that I've been, not that I've lived, but that I've been, will have the pool off the veranda so that it's like, it's above ground, but you walk straight on, like into the pool basically, because your veranda's raised and your pool is raised. So that's what I've done here. And I've enclosed the whole thing with the glass fence and the glass gate, which I think were part of the update as well. And then just added a little chair and table so that if it was real life, your parents would sit there if they didn't want to go in the pool and watch you do like somersaults or something for hours on end until they went, okay, guys, get out of the pool. And then one thing with real Queenslanders is that the bottom is often open slats, so like kind of a lot more spaced apart than I was able to find with a wallpaper, obviously. But that's why I've used that sort of vertical one. They're all like that. And a lot of people will use it sort of as their garage or carport and will park underneath the side that's high enough off the ground that they can actually fit their car underneath. So that's what I've done there. And I've kind of enclosed it a little bit more so that it looks a little bit more like it's a proper little garage bit. And now we're getting on to the landscaping, which I cut out a bunch, but there still is quite a lot that we do. But just adding a little bit of terrain paint to make it look like there's little paths everywhere. Here is the front. So this is your front entrance. You got the little mailbox, the 2 staircases, and it was really, I wanted it to feel very lush and almost overgrown, but still taken care of. So I added in lots and lots of greenery and lots of flowers, different bushes, a lot of debug landscaping, just because there's not huge amounts in the base game. Here I'm just shuffling things around so that it looks a little less orderly and a little more natural. But you can kind of see the vision, I think, of what I was going for. Basically, I wanted it to look very, very green and very sort of lived in, established, and just added a couple of trees around the lot because it's quite a large lot. And the house doesn't take up all of it, so you got to fill in the space somehow. And then just adding a couple more flowers around the place, and then I add like a little bit of a almost more of a tropical garden in this corner with the rocks and the palm trees, and then just adding a couple of low-lying greeneries, sort of the ferns, I think some of the agaves and things like that. I'm really pleased with how this one turned out. I think it looks super nice, and I kind of wish I'd done the entire garden in that, but I think that would work really well too, for a place in Oasis Springs. So maybe if I do one again there, I'll go with this kind of landscaping as well. But again, because it's a Queenslander style house, that sort of tropical landscaping felt very realistic. And then because I had so much backyard, I just added a pond. I messed with the terrain a little bit more and went with it. I cut out a whole bunch of messing around with the pond, and sort of landscaping it, but you'll see at the end, and when we jump in, you'll be able to see it as well. But just add in a couple of things like mosquitoes, because any kind of standing water in the tropics will give you mosquitoes. But here you can see I've added another tree, and then just going through, and I basically just surround the entire pond with those kind of reeds and a couple of rocks just to make it look less like it's just plonked there in the ground. And then we move the monkey bars around so that we can fit a little bit of an outdoor barbecue and seating area underneath the tree, which I thought it'd be nice in real life and nice for The Sims as well. And I think we just add a little bit of a fence. Nothing, it doesn't go all the way around, it just goes part way. Because it looks really weird if you stick it over the terrain that goes up, your fence goes kind of crazy. So I've just left it like that, and then just going through and adding a little bit more terrain paint. So I built this one in Willow Creek, and I actually demolished the house that was here and built it on this lot here. So here's what it looks like from the front, and I felt like this worked well as the front, because it's kind of got these two posts and the tree, so it kind of made it look more like an entrance. But we've got sort of just a little bit of landscaping here, a lot of landscaping here, that little tropical one here. Underneath we've got our little carport, and we've got the bins tucked away there as well. Some more planter boxes for that gardening skill, the little barbecue area, and that pond at the back. And then as we come up, we've got just a little table and chairs, some more plants, just that bench seat with the telescope and some more plants. And then as we come inside, we look straight at this sort of art studio section with the parents' easel and the kids' thing, which I'm now noticing is clipping into the wall there, so we'll just fix that. But we've got a little side table with a couple of knickknacks, and then the shoe rack, the coat rack, the mirror for when you're ducking outside. You can check yourself out. Coming through to our dining room, got a big 6-seater table, and you could probably add a chair on either end if you had more Sims. The two little hutches there, all the curtains, the little side table with the salt and pepper, the paper towels, the wine bottles. And then we step up into the kitchen. As you can see, we've got that bar instead of an island. The bin, very important. The fridge, and then just a couple of like items of clutter. Sink, microwave, oven, and some more clutter. Really very basic, very straightforward. You could easily add a lot more clutter, and you could probably add some upper cabinetry here, but to me it just looks too closed in, so I never do it. And we come over here, we've got the bathroom, now that we moved it over to this side. Double sink, little laundry hamper. Again, not usable unless you have laundry day, but nice to have just a bit of clutter. Bathtub, shower, toilet tucked away behind the door. And then if we come over here, we've got like a little study nook, just a computer and a lamp and a corkboard. Nothing else you really need. But we come into our lounge room, we've got the TV, the speaker, ignore the plant clipping, lounge room, a lounge chair I should say, and a little armchair there as well, and the bookshelf for skill building. And then we come into the parents' room. We have that little guitar seating area, bed with the matching side tables, and then we've got another full-length mirror, a dresser, and almost like a little section, as if it was like a fake dresser section, basically. And then across this little bit here, we have the kids' room. So again, the two beds, one top bunk, one bottom bunk. I stuck a little fishbowl, and then they've got the dollhouse and the little science table as well, so they can get their skills up as well. And then if we come out the back door, not a lot out here. You can go down the stairs, or you can come to the little pool area, which I really love this little section. And think of how nice it would be if you were in the pool. You can look out at this beautiful sort of pond, and then further on across to like the little park area, and just look all around. I just think it's so nice. So we'll share this one to the gallery. I've just called it Base Game Queenslander. Built a classic Queenslander-style family home using just the base game in Willow Creek. As I said, it's just 2 bed, 1 bath. Here's what it looks like from the front, which is nice. I'm glad that ended up being the front on the gallery as well. But let's share that one. And it ended up costing about $75,000, which is quite expensive, I guess, for just a base game. But there's a lot of landscaping and there's a lot to this house. So I think it works out well. But thanks for watching. Bye.